Have you ever wanted to be in the show, or should I say part of a show? What am I talking about? Immersive theater. That's right. Today, we meet Mayor Imbri with Dirty Words, and she talks all about the different type of arts that she's doing with her immersive theater. Is it a little risque? Is it a little bit dark? Sexy? Oh yeah, it's all that. Come on in and let's talk dirty.
Welcome to the Dayton Approved podcast with Frank O'Neill. This is where the local Dayton businesses get a spotlight.
Welcome to Dayton Approved, exploring Dayton small businesses and nonprofits with Dayton Discount Furniture. Today we've got Mayor Imbri with Dirty Words.
Hello.
How are you?
Mayor Imbri.
Yes. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying this day. It's a little hot today, but hopefully we stay cool here because we had to turn the air conditioning off.
Yeah.
Well, I normally start off with some points about the mission statement, but today I think we're going to start off with your name. How did you come about that whole process of coming up with this name of yours,
Imbri.
I should say?
Yes. Mayor Imbri is short for Mare Imbrium, which means it's a name for a lake on the moon. It means lake of rain or lake of tears. And it's spelled Mare, and I don't want to be associated with a horse because that's a little rough. So I just made it the French spelling instead of the Latin.
Okay.
Mare Imbri is a character from a fantasy novel series I like. And in the series, Mare Imbrium is literally a nightmare. She's the mare that delivers nightmares.
Oh, wow.
So she was one of my favorite characters in the Piers Anthony Xanth novel series from a few decades ago, and that's where I got my inspiration.
All right. Well, that is a interesting, I guess you could say, story. I've never didn't know much about that before, so that's it's definitely unique and definitely cool name. Well, let's talk about what Dirty Words is. So tell us a little bit about what Dirty Words is and what they do, because I'm sure a lot of people aren't 100% sure. At least our audience, I should say.
So Dirty Words is performance art theater. We do a lot of stuff. We've done burlesque. We're doing literary salons, which is just platforms for writers. And we do immersive theater, which is theater that is kind of sans the fourth wall, which means that you're not sitting in a theater with chairs and a stage, but you're literally in the room thrust into a story. And we do it with a lot of dirty words. So
So you definitely got to be 18 to come to this type of show.
You must be a legal adult, yes.
Yes. Well, that's good. That's good. Now, I know we were talking about your mission statement at the pre-show, and one of the things that I liked that you said was you like to bring light to things that's often pushed in the shadows. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit more about what that means to you and what you do or how you guys do that, I guess.
Yeah.
Bring light to
So one of our main focuses is on storytelling and also on erotic literature specifically when we're telling stories. And the reason that I choose erotic literature and smut and porn or whatever you want to call it is because those are the types of things that people don't like to talk about, they pretend they're not part of, but everybody kind of is, whether they admit it or not. So
Right.
we bring it out, we force it out into the light. We talk about kink, we talk about sexuality all the time, and because of that, we invite others to expand and be themselves, because there's nothing that can shock us at that point, you know?
Right.
We just talk about crazy stuff, and we read ridiculous porn all day, and when you take those things that people act like they're really bad, and you take them and you normalize them.
Yeah.
It lets people relax a little
Yeah.
bit and explore themselves more openly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is there anything that you've heard that was like just so out there that you're like, I don't know if we should normalize that one?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I used to be a cam model, and when you're doing that, people are anonymous.
Okay.
So when they're paying for a service, they ask for really weird stuff sometimes.
yeah.
And there's some line pushers. There was a guy that came on once that asked me to pretend that I was his mommy and that he was 4 years old, but I was also sexually attracted to him. And I was like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. It's too much. It's just too much.
Oh,
Cross the line. And it really probably wasn't actually, it was probably actually pretty innocent. Like, there's a lot of people out there with adult child kink. It's like a thing where you pretend you're a baby or a toddler.
Yeah.
That's actually a real thing that exists, and people do it.
Yeah, I've heard of
but-
that. I don't know.
It's all
anyone-
about context with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's it's cool that people, whatever it is, can have a safe spot, I guess you could say, to kind of express themselves and kind of show, or I don't know, I guess you could say, be themselves. Like that's what it's all about, really. So that's cool. So then, basically, you're putting light on. Well, I guess what you said with the shadows. So you're basically just trying to use or have a platform where, Dirty Words is like, hey, we're showing off this case. This is a safe spot. This is where people can act a little bit, I guess you could say what society norms would say are not normal, but this is
here
normal
it's
here.
normal.
Yes, exactly.
It's a place where you can relax and be comfortable because you're watching people explore themselves
Yeah.
through art.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, all through art, which is what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So how did, I guess that brings us to your story. How did you get started? How did this all come about?
Well, I've been into performing arts for a very long time. I used to dance burlesque. I was a burlesque dancer. I'm not sure where I should start, though.
Well, I guess we could start with you are a Daytonian, so that's
Yes,
good.
I'm
Yes,
from Dayton.
That's always good for Dayton
yes.
Approved.
Yeah. I'm from Dayton. I lived in New York for a little while. When I was in New York, I discovered immersive theater, and it was life-changing for me because it was just really cool. I live a lot in my head. I have a very strong fantasy world, and I'm always looking for like things that make me feel like I'm in someone's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And immersive theater is amazing because that's literally the point.
Yeah.
It is escapist fantasy in real time. You are in another reality. You walk into the house or the speakeasy or wherever, the brothel in my last year when I did Bonton Hotel. You're in it. You're in this story. You're a part of it. And you don't have to be responsible for anything. You're just watching the story unfold around you rather
Right.
than in front of you. So you can totally like let go of your daily life and imagine that you actually exist in that time, in that moment. It's very fun. It's very wonderful for me.
Yeah. It's almost like it's definitely a unique and different experience when you're, instead of just like sitting in the audience and like looking at something on the stage, compared to being like in or on the stage, and it's like every single room, I guess you could say, or a different area, you can really kind of put a time period on it. You can put, a feel with like the different type of furniture or the different type of outfits. So like to really just be involved or in it.
Yeah. And in addition to that, you often have characters that will interact with you
Yes.
as if you are also a character because you literally are.
Yeah. So
So,
if you
yeah.
do say something, then you're going to get spoken back too.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't you? That's
Right.
like you're in that world. You exist there for a couple of hours anyway.
Right,
I
right.
think that's I think that's amazing. That's so cool to me.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's definitely unique and different, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, so were in New York where you had your first, I guess, experience with this type of theater. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there was I don't think it's active now, but there was a show called Speakeasy Dollhouse, and it took place in the Lower East Side, deep inside of an alley. You had to walk down the back. There was a little tiny footpath, and then you would walk up some stairs, and then you'd give them a password, and they'd let you in, and it would open up these doors into this like beautiful like velvet upholstered 1920s themed speakeasy, and there would be like nude paintings on the walls and like lush couches and someone dancing in the background to a live jazz band, and all your cocktails were served out of teacups or coffee cups, and they called them tea and coffee even though you were drinking things like bee's knees or French 75, anything that they could make out of a bathtub, you know. And the story would be told in different parts of the bar, whether it be outside or inside or in a back room, and you were just part of it. And the actors would approach you, and they'd give you notes or tell you some gossip, and you'd be like, oh, and you'd have to go find another character and give them the note, and it was so cool. I was like, this is amazing, and we started going every month because it was like a monthly recurring event, and we would go every single month because we loved it.
Yeah.
So when I came back here, that's kind of all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I started throwing these like New Year's parties at my house for just my friends that lived around here after I moved back, you know.
Yeah.
And they would always be like these deep theme parties, and I would recruit my friends to play characters, and I would have like written out like a mini play for them to perform. And
You gave everyone a role, I guess you could say.
Yeah. One time I gave literally every member of the party a role, and there was like, I don't know, 50 people there. They all had a role, and they had to be that character the whole night.
Yeah.
And they were able to do that until they got too drunk. But we had a good time. And so I've been looking for an opportunity to do that in like a real way, like a large scale way outside my house for a very long time. And got my first chance last year. So this year I'm getting ready to do it again, and it is everything that I hoped it would be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's really cool. That's it's awesome to be able to see the process of, you know, from where it started to kind of where it's at now and where it's going. You know, and it's getting bigger and better, and
we're working on it.
and more exciting. So I know we talked also a little bit about, it's kind of like the process or the creative process that you have. It's kind of like, it kind of just comes to you, and then it's like, boom, we're busting it out. It's like a burst. And then, you know, after that, it's like, well, okay, we just did a bunch of stuff. We got to chill out. We got to kind of have a resting period.
I have to, I generally pace my events based on my mood, because I work in spurts very much so. Like I'll get a good idea, and I will be on 10 for months over that idea. Like I will be 100% in, and then I will take these long rest periods. And if I try to push it during the rest periods, all I come up with is like bad stuff, bad art. So I'm like, I can't push it, or I'll just feel bad about myself. So I just wait until it hits, and then I go. Yeah,
yeah. I think that is, I've also heard that from other artists. I think that's just something that really good artists understand that. And it's like respecting the process, right? So
because if you don't respect the process, you just feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
Like unnecessarily. There's no need to do that. So
exactly.
It's better to just just let it come to you when it comes.
So one of the things we like to ask is like kind of like what sets you apart from other you know, theater or businesses like theater. I would say yours is definitely unique completely. It's like nothing else out there, especially in Dayton.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk a little bit more about what really makes it different? I know you talked a little bit about the immersive theater part, but there's some other stuff too that you...
Yeah. So Dirty Words actually started out as a burlesque show. There is quite a bit of burlesque between Cincinnati, Columbus, and Dayton. But I really wanted to do something that aligned with my interests more, and I wanted to make it literary. And then I was kind of thinking that literary is a little overdone too. So I went another route and was like, well, what if we just, I don't know, read porn in between the dancers? And that worked out really well. Like, I've ended up learning so much about cultural history. Like, I never thought I would learn so much about cultural history through reading porn, but you really do. So that's probably the main thing that sets us apart. If you want to move into theater, obviously there's not a lot of immersive theater out there. You kind of have to go to bigger cities for that.
Right.
There's not a lot here, and if there is, it's not what I do, because everything we do is centered around erotic literature, and we literally have erotic literature being reenacted into theatrical performances that are immersive. So you're like, I mean, you're watching porn essentially, but it's not like literally porn. It's a performance, but like it's based off of porn, I guess. yes. No, I understand. I know that, I don't know when you want to, but I know a little later you're going to read. Yeah, I have a story here.
Yeah. Well, we can read that here. I was thinking we could probably do that after we talk a little bit more about the story of Bonton Hotel. Because I think just talking about what that is really going to kind of explain a lot about what Dirty Words is all about and really kind of show what sets you apart.
Yeah, so welcome to the Bonton Hotel was our first experience doing immersive theater. It was my first time trying it, and there was a great venue called House on Main Events in Fairborn, here in Fairborn.
Yes.
That hosted it, and it's a great space with multiple rooms, and I found it through a friend, and so we decided to host this play through there, and the play was about it was about a lot of things. The main character was named Lib Hedges, who was a real person that existed in Dayton, and she was also nicknamed the Queen of Dayton because she was very wealthy. She owned a lot of property, and when the flood hit in 1913, she funded the recovery. She funded more money than most people did, including other businesses. I think she funded, I can't remember now, so don't quote me on this, but I want to say like $5,000 or $6,000, which by today's standard would be like $130,000 or something like that. It was a lot, and we weren't getting really enough funding from the state or the government at the time, so people were just giving whatever they could to try and recover. And I wanted to honor her because it only took about 2 years after that before the city kind of pushed her out of the community and made her quit working.
Now, was she the woman that was like the madam of Dayton?
Yeah.
Is that who you're talking about?
She was she was a brothel madam of of a brothel called the Bonton Hotel, and then her sister had another brothel that she ran. So they kind of worked together. It was called Hotel Le Grand. They like the French words a lot, apparently. She also had a bar for a little while. I don't remember what that was called. But yeah, there's a little bit about her at the Dayton Library, but it's literally just in a binder because someone else was also very interested in her. But other than that, like, there's no like printed work about her specifically.
Yeah.
You know. So if anybody wants to look that up at the library, they can find it. It's really interesting.
Wow.
Really interesting. Anyway, the Bonton Hotel had featured 3 vignettes in each that tied into the full story. We reenacted a scene from Marquis de Sade, and we reenacted a scene from the Diaries of Louis Cecilia, which were both like several hundred years old, but still so relevant to the way we see the world today. The way people saw sexuality throughout history has changed so much and has flipped back and forth so many times. My headset's
Falling off you?
fallen off, yeah. But the way we've seen sexuality has flipped around so much, whether we're sexually liberal, whether homosexuality is okay, all of these things have just changed multiple times throughout history. And both of those stories feature like a lot of hedonistic themes. And like, for example, the Diary of Louisa Segea, or the Dialogue of Louisa Segea, I'm sorry, I've been calling it the wrong thing, was we did a lesbian scene, and it was absolutely beautiful and cute and funny. And they literally were given a direct script from the story, because back then a lot of novels were written in like script format, meaning instead of having like a story with like people having dialogue, it's like you have a character talking and then they switch to another character who's talking, just like in a script.
Yeah.
So it was really easy for me to just like give that portion to them and have them recite it as accurately and closely to the original story as possible. And I felt like that was a great way to get people to see that this stuff is not new and it's not original. And we've been talking about porn and talking about lesbians
Yeah.
for hundreds of years, thousands of years. It is not new. And
Oh,
neither,
no.
yeah. So it's silly to try and push those things under the rug, because it's just part of who we are, you know.
Oh yeah, I've always said, I was like, the internet just really, that shined a lot of light on some
Oh,
dark
yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was like, oh no, before the internet it wasn't like that. I'm like, oh, it was there.
It was there.
It was a little harder to find.
Hid it under the bed.
Exactly.
Into the back of the closet.
Right, literally. So it was just kind of interesting how, people blame the internet, but no, it's been around for centuries.
It's funny to even say that though, because we're coming from this like really outdated Victorian ideology that says that those things need to be kept secret.
Yeah.
And that's not always been the case. Like, there have been multiple times through history where sex was very open and very like public. I mean, there
Yeah.
were periods of time where sex was worshipped as part of the religion. There were periods of time where if like a couple got married, they would have an audience watch them while they consummated their marriage.
Yeah.
Like family and friends, everybody. I can't imagine, that sounds so awkward, but like
Right, yeah.
this was just a normal part of life. We didn't
It's like they
demonize
wanted to
it.
make sure that like it was official. It was like
They want to make sure it's
wild.
official. They want to make sure that baby belongs to who they think it does.
Yeah.
That's the most important
Yeah.
part, so that those assets are secured. Or if you want to get back really far into like the Sumerian time, then like the Sumerians, they had an entire culture set up around sexuality and fertility, and women were their primary god was a goddess, and she was the goddess of sex and love and purity and war. And they had it was like custom for a young girl to live in the temple and prostitute herself as part of her like coming into adulthood.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly normal. It was perfectly accepted. And if she chose, she could get married after she'd had some experience or earned enough money to afford a dowry.
Yeah.
Or she could just stay. It would be like kind of up to the person, the individual at that point.
Right.
Some of them didn't even care about earning money. They would just do it. If they came from an affluent family, they would still enter the priesthood and prostitute themselves for the experience of prostituting themselves, and it was just a custom that they did. That was a really long time ago. We've changed a lot since then. But so it's just interesting to think about the way things have shifted over time, and I like to shine light on that when I get the chance.
Yeah, I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I remember when I was at Ohio State, and I had to take an anthropology class, and the teacher was telling us about gorillas for some reason, and he was like saying, hey, here's an interesting thing about these two different types of gorillas. They like would be on different parts, and they would all over the place, different villages, I guess you could say, and then they would have war, right, and battles. Mm-hmm. And he said the interesting thing they did, and they realized, and then what they observed is, and this isn't like happens today, right? is that the females during war would go onto the other side to find males to mate with and then come back. And then the males didn't realize that was in their tribe, that it was like from the other tribe, but they would just raise it like their own.
Keeping that DNA diverse.
But that's what they were saying. It was like something that was known. Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
Doing it in secret, though. That's
Right.
funny.
During war.
The gorillas have their own culture. They're doing their thing.
Right. So I always thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, back to Bonton Hotel. So you were saying different, I think where did we leave off at? It was like 3 different rooms.
We had
and then
3 vignettes with multiple stories in them. Then we had 2 vignettes and then a main story in that one. I miscounted. But in the main story, I told an anecdote from Lib Hedges' story, and then I kind of bastardized it and made it into a whole thing. It was pretty fun, but it was sort of based off this story that she had threatened some guy with a fire poker for disrespecting one of her girls, sorry. And I guess she'd come downstairs and like somebody used the wrong word to describe this lady, an offensive word, and she threatened him and kicked him out because it was disrespectful. And Lib Hedges was sort of known for running a tight ship and being very like proper and beautiful and respectable, and made sure that was kind of how all of the girls in the house were represented too. And she wanted to make sure that the men that came into the house were equally respectful, and if they weren't, then she was not going to put up with it. She was apparently a very imposing woman and a very powerful woman. People did not mess with her.
Right, yeah,
So,
they did not exactly. They didn't want to mess with her. It was, this is how we're doing things,
Yeah.
and you better be polite and proper.
yeah. So I sort of I didn't use that exact story, but I did get some inspiration by it, and sort of told the story around it that featured her attitude that I imagined that she would have had,
Yeah.
and kind of talked about like how powerful how much influence she would have had in the community, and how her connections probably influenced that and things like that.
Yeah. So not only immersive, but also, a little bit of Dayton history in there. We can definitely say. Yeah. Not 100% all, I guess you could say accurate from the time period, but
Yeah, I had to, bend the rules a little bit to
Right.
give it a story, but yeah, I got a lot from her story because I found her to be a very inspiring character.
yeah. So I know that you also said just doing this type of production definitely kind of brought a little, I guess you could say, drama in.
Oh, yes.
You got a little story there to tell us.
So this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, and it's the first time Dayton's really heard of anything like this. And as I said before, this is all about like erotic literature, and we did erotic literature reenactments. We reenacted porn without it being porn as performance. But not everybody picked up on that, even though the way I wrote it was, I thought, very clear. Apparently it wasn't. And one day a friend sent me a message and was like, hey, you're in the Dayton forum. I don't know what it was called. It was a forum for Johns to find prostitutes, or also to discuss the prostitutes that live in the area. And the cops follow it very tightly because they want to do that. But somebody made a post about the Bonton Hotel asking about what they thought it was, and that person thought it was a live sex show. And they were like, hey, this sounds like my jam. I'm going to go, even if it's not a live sex show, it still sounds fun. I'm going to go. Like, that's actually pretty legit to me. I'm like, even if you think that, like, go ahead, see what happens. That's an adventurous spirit there. I respect
Right.
that. But, it's in Fairborn, and Fairborn's a little conservative, and I get a call like a few days later. I've already seen this listing. I get a call unrelated a few days later from the venue, and they're like, the cops have been calling us. They're concerned this is a live sex show. And I'm like, it's not. And they're like, we know. But they're probably going to call you, and I just want to let you know. And I'm I'm like, okay. So I had to call. They called me, and I had to explain to the police that there was no live sex show. And of course, that didn't matter because they still came to the show undercover and were in the show watching to make sure that all of our buttholes were covered because that's in Dayton.
That's the rule.
In Dayton, you can be naked, but you have to keep your butthole covered. So I
well,
made
good to know, good to know.
everyone's butthole was totally covered. Just want to make sure that was clear. There was no penetration and no buttholes. Everything was good. And then also, for both nights that we did the event, there were cops circling all the parking lots the entire night. The entire night. You could see their lights go by. It was obnoxious. It was so obnoxious. But, yeah, I was like, hey, it's good PR, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So did they, so they came into the show. Was that not the first night, though, right?
It was
The second night?
I want to say it was Friday night, probably. It was the first night. There was a guy there that was undercover.
Oh, wow.
And at first I didn't really believe that, but
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who come to these shows who are sex workers. There are people working who are or have been sex workers, and they know what the signs are.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, pretty sure that's an undercover cop over there. He doesn't look normal. He doesn't look like he belongs here, if you know what I mean." Which is funny because I'm like, who doesn't belong here? Really, everyone belongs here. Apparently, there's a type who doesn't belong here, and I, there wasn't any confirmation or proof, but over time, things came to light, information came to light that there really was actually an undercover cop who had bought a ticket to come in and was keeping an eye on us, making sure we weren't, I guess, showing our buttholes. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild.
It was very wild. It was
Well,
fun.
I was there, actually. I saw it, and I thought it was a phenomenal show.
Thank you.
Yeah. I actually was the guy giving out $2 bills.
Nice. I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you knew, maybe you didn't know, but now it kind of makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. Very appropriate.
Yes. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting show. It was something I've never experienced before. But I do remember leaving the show, and I can relate to what you were saying about when you talk or describe New York, and it's like, this was awesome. I want more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why isn't there more interactive theater like this?
It's because it's really hard to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of finding the right things, the venues, the right props, the right actors who can all work together to create an environment like that, because it is not simply finding a stage.
Yeah.
It is actually pretty complicated, and I think that might be it might be like a creative hamper for some people to have to wrap their brain around all the extra details, all the mechanical details, when all they want to do is tell a story. But like, what I want to do is not just tell the story, but be in the story so that I can like experience it.
Yep.
And so that's like a whole other level of like, you got to think about so much detail that you have to get out. That's it can get complicated.
Yeah. You got to create the vibe. You got to create the atmosphere. You got to find the right venue. I mean, it's. You also got to write the story too. I mean, that's that's the obvious one. But thinking about how to make all the layers work and completely, I guess you could say, hit correctly.
You got to tell a story, and so like the one in New York that I went to, the Speakeasy Dollhouse, was Nonlinear.
Okay.
And by that I mean that at the Bonton, we guided you through the house so that you wouldn't miss anything. Dayton's not ready for Nonlinear. If you are, please let me know. Like, really, I'm so on board for that. But since a lot of people don't know what immersive theater is yet, I'm not ready to do a nonlinear play. Nonlinear means that you are finding scenes unfold randomly, which means that you are essentially let into a space to explore.
Yeah.
And you're either going to stumble on something or you're not.
Yeah.
And if you don't stumble on it, your friend might, and they'll tell you about it, and you're going to be like, oh, I can't believe I missed that. I have to go back.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one of the reasons that had us going back all the time. It was really very effective to me.
So at Cedar Point, I'm a big roller coaster guy. I love roller coasters. I just got to my 103rd roller coaster I just did this year, which I'm very happy about. Now it's like, okay, now to 500.
Yeah.
But at Cedar Point, at Halloween they had a show, and it was at like next to their old saloon, and it was kind of somewhat, I wouldn't say immersive, but it was more immersive than a regular show, right? Mm-hmm. So they had characters walking around at the beginning and messing with people, and it was like a murder mystery type of deal. And it was like, hey, here's what happened. This person died. Mm-hmm. Here are the suspects. All three had like, I guess you could say, like, motive to do it. And at the end, the audience had to choose, who do you think did it? And from my understanding, each three of them had an ending. So whatever the audience picked, it was a different ending to the story.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, the South Park neighborhood in Dayton just did something like that last summer for their home tour, and it was great.
Yeah.
They did a whole murder mystery, and it was very immersive to show off their homes. So I don't know if a lot of historical neighborhoods will have home tours once or twice a year, and theirs was a murder mystery. So you go to each house and you try to figure out who the bad guy was, who the murderer was, and like what happened. It was cool.
Yeah. So I think what's cool about that is if you have alternate endings and you have different, like, you can get the audience involved, it gives you the ability to say, hey, I can go back to this show and watch it again and get a different experience.
Maybe someday we'll be ready for a nonlinear story. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
In New York, there's another performance that's very famous. Some people might have heard of it. It's called Sleep No More. And it's an immersive play that takes place in a 6-story warehouse. Like, I shit you not, it is enormous.
Yeah.
And it is a nonlinear performance of Macbeth.
Okay.
So you are literally forced to wander alone. You don't even get to stay with your party. If you brought friends, you're alone.
Yeah.
You're just on your own. You're forced to wander this 6-story building by yourself and explore all the rooms and all the spaces that they've created. And if you happen to stumble into a scene, then you're going to see something crazy, probably. Or you can choose to follow a character around. You might even fixate on one character and just follow them around the entire night. Or you can just wander around, explore drawers and bedrooms and different places and see if you can put 2 and 2 together and hear the story that way. And it's a really cool performance. I think they're ending it soon if they haven't already. But it ran for a really long time. It was very successful. Completely nonlinear.
Yeah.
Also, so yeah, you have to be really open-minded to do that, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the thing about immersive theater and you're saying nonlinear is you can't record it. I mean, you could, but it would totally not be. And it wouldn't
it wouldn't even make sense if you did.
Yeah.
Like, it would just be confusing. It wouldn't look that good. Like,
right.
You have to experience it. It is a
it's all about the
phone experience.
Yes.
You can't really. It's really hard to describe it. You can't really explain to someone what happened because they had to be there.
Yeah.
Because if you try, it's not going to make any sense. But, like, it makes sense because you were there. And yeah. So, especially if you go with other people, because then the other people can fill in the gaps for you. So you'll see scenes, and they'll see scenes that you didn't get to see, and they'll put it together, and you're like, oh, I wish I'd have seen that.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. You go buy another ticket because you can't help yourself.
And then you're there every month.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think now would be probably a good time to do your reading if you want before we finish up everything, or did you want to do it at the end? It's up to you.
I can tell a story, yeah. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I'm really interested in erotic history and erotic literature.
Before we get to that, though, I know that one of the things that we were going to talk about was, I guess you could say things you're excited about. And I know your new show, we want to talk about that a little bit later, but you did mention something called the Smut Saloon.
The Smut Salon.
Sorry, yeah. Saloon. Jeez, there you go. There I am, messing up with things again.
Yeah, so the Smut Salon is...
Is this similar to what you're talking about for that, or is this totally different?
This would totally be something I would include in the Smut Salon, yeah.
So this is kind of like a good example of what
Yeah,
that would
I'm
be
actually not going to be reading today, but I will be telling a story, and it is something that I would totally, well, is a story I would totally tell and might still tell at a future smut salon because it's just incredibly weird, and people need to know
Yeah.
it existed. People need to know this person lived in the world, and just they just need to know they existed. I feel like
Okay.
it's important.
Well, we'll do the reading, and then you can explain a little bit later about what the
Sure.
salon is.
So this is the story of Beefsteak Pete. That was his nickname.
What was his name?
Beefsteak Pete.
All right, Beefsteak Pete.
Yeah.
All right.
It's offensive for a reason. This is a true story. It actually happened. It was published in multiple newspapers and in legal records, and that's why we know about it. Once upon a time, and I even know the exact time, allegedly, at 10 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th, 1836, I wrote that down, there was a gentleman ending a date with a lady whom I assume did not put out. His name was Robert Haslam, and he was walking home on Bowery Street in New York City, and he came across an attractive woman. She was a black woman, that's important. And he's like, hey, where are you going? You heading somewhere? And she was like, I'm going back to my apartment. You want to come with me? Her name was Mary Jones, and she was she's a very beautiful woman, and he was like, all right, let's do this. And he, he gets it. She's a sex worker, and they go and they do their business. And in the newspapers, they said that they embraced. They embraced. It was a warm embrace.
Yes.
That's what she did for money.
Yeah.
So afterwards, he's headed home, and he finds that he is got another man's wallet in his pocket. And he's like, what the hell? And so he's upset because he's just lost $90 and his wallet. What he has instead is some other guy's wallet with $200 in it. I don't know why, but I feel like if there was more money in it, I wouldn't be mad about it.
No, wait a second. I got to ask. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. You said it was, what year was this? 18 whatever?
1836.
That's a ton of money.
Yeah, it's a ton of money.
Yeah.
And so
just
is
to emphasize.
$90.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna go a ways.
Yeah.
So there's like a ton of money, more than twice what he had before, but he's still mad about it apparently. And he goes and he finds this guy and he's like, "Bro, I got your wallet," and he gives it to him. I guess because I don't know, looking out for each other. I don't know. I don't believe that. And the guy that he gave the wallet to was like, yeah, I let it go because I don't want to be associated with this. Like, it is, I can't, like, ruin my reputation or get in legal trouble with this because what I did was very illegal, and I just don't want to talk about it anymore. So this guy is completely anonymous, by the way. But Robert Haslam does not have any issue with this. He's like, I did what I did, and I'm just going to lie about it. So he goes and he confesses to the constable, and he's like, this bitch stole my wallet, and this is what happened, and I lost $90, and I'm really mad, and I feel taken advantage of, and she hurt my feelings, and all that stuff. So the constable goes and he finds Mary. He finds Mary on the street where he said she would be, and, same earrings, same dress. I say same dress. Most people wore the same dress or the same outfit a few days at a time. It's not like today.
Yeah.
They didn't have as many clothes as we have.
Right.
So that's not actually gross. That's actually really normal.
Yeah.
And Mary invites him back to her apartment. And he's like, no, can you just show me what you did with my friend the other night, my friend Robert Haslam? And she's like, okay. And she goes and does whatever that was, that warm embrace.
Yes.
And let's see what I wrote down here. I guess. Oh, okay. So apparently in doing that exact act that she did the night before, the constable found her bosom to be allegedly full of wallets. Why you would just carry other people's wallets and not take the money out, I don't know. It's an alleged statement. Mary Jones was black, and I assume that a lot of this might have been exaggerated to make her look worse than. That's not to say she wasn't a thief. She probably was.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But I'm sure that they were trying to make it look worse than it was to take the heat off old Rob and his interests, which we'll get to. So the constable goes to Mary's apartment later on to, continue this, to get more evidence for the arrest that he's already made. And he goes inside, and that's when he realizes for the first time that Mary may not be everything that she appears to be, because there is a girdle hanging from the bedpost that has, it literally says in the newspaper, a piece of cow shaped like a woman's womb. So he's got a prosthetic vulva made out of meat or leather or something that he's been wearing, or she's been wearing. And during the day, he is Peter Sawali, and at night, she is Mary Jones.
Oh, okay.
He flips back and forth.
Yeah.
At least he does in New York. So that is how they find out that these guys, who probably knew exactly what they were doing, have been sleeping with a trans person. And back then, that was wildly illegal, especially when you're talking about anal sex. That was extremely illegal. That was something that you could go to jail for. And so, of course, all these guys never did any such thing. They only saw a vulva made out of beefsteak.
Right.
Hence the nickname Beefsteak Pete, which was an insulting term, obviously. But I like to start with it because no one knows what the hell I'm talking about when I say it. So Mary Jones gets tried, or Peter Swallow gets tried, and they show up in full drag in their normal clothes as Mary in court. And I will assume that she made that aesthetic choice on her own, but I don't know. No one really knows how. She could have been coerced or forced to do that, but it's a good chance that she decided to do that on her own, because she was at that point probably living the majority of her time as Mary.
Yeah.
And she goes on to explain that when she lived in New Orleans, that she was almost always dressed as a woman and living as a woman, and that the black community just generally accepted her that way. But when you're dealing with white people, it's a little different, and they do not accept it as much, regardless of your race, but especially if you're black,
Yeah.
So she goes on to explain that, and she explains about her service in the military, and just basically denies everything, by the way. Denies everything that she did. And for a second, I was like, well, maybe she didn't, because a lot of this is alleged evidence. Like, allegedly there were a ton of wallets in her apartment. Allegedly there were a ton of wallets in her boobs. I don't know. But she went to jail for 5 years, and when she got out, she got arrested like 3 more times throughout her life for the exact same thing, which leads me to think, okay, maybe she was a pickpocket, and she just was a really bad one, because instead of taking people's money, she just gave them more money. Like what she did with Robert there. She's like, I'll take your $90 and you can have this guy's $200. He won't mind.
Yeah.
I never said she was like smart, just interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really fun story, because I just feel like people need to know that Mary existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about trans lives now in the modern scope of things, and how they're really being a force to be reckoned with in our culture right now. But we never talk about the people who were doing it before it was even legal to do, before it was okay in any way, before it was even fathomable.
Yeah.
Before there was vocabulary for it. And this person was just, not only living it, but being encouraged by their peers. And despite the fact that they know it's illegal, they know that every aspect of their existence is wrong and bad as far as their culture tells them, they know that they can't be anybody else. So
Yeah.
I feel like that story really emanates what Dirty Words is for, who Dirty Words is for.
Yeah.
It's for people who are brave enough to be who they are going to be, regardless of what anybody else says, because they can't be anybody else. You can't. You
Right.
can only be who you are. So
Yeah. No, I think that's a very interesting story. Back in 1800s, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How do you find something like that?
I do a lot of research. Yeah. I have a lot of books at home.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the process, right? Of just finding these stories and then bringing light to them is just.
I started out doing. I went to college for art history and inadvertently ended up doing a lot of women's studies in that field, and it led me down the path of learning about sex work and sex work history and the oldest profession, and that kind of rabbit holed into so many things. It rabbit holed into erotic literature and history of like LGBTQ experiences. A lot of people know about the Greco-Roman gaze and all that stuff, but they don't know is that when they think about these really prudent periods in time or really vague periods in time, that things were just not how they've been painted to look.
Yeah.
At all. And we have
No.
a lot of stories about them, and they're really fun.
Well, that's cool. So that would be kind of an example of what you would do at the Smut Salon?
Yeah, so at the
So,
Smut Salon.
yeah, so let's talk about, we'll go ahead and do that. Let's wait. Let's bring back, let's step back to that. Before that, let's talk about challenges, because we kind of waterfall into that, where, what are some challenges? And I think you said one of the biggest challenges is like finding a venue. Now that people know what type of stuff it is that you are talking about.
Because our entire premise is on erotic topics and sexuality and porn and erotica or whatever you want to, because of the adult nature of pretty much our entire idea, is so out of bounds for a lot of the community that it can be very challenging to find venues that are comfortable with it. It can be challenging to find funding that's
Yes.
from larger organizations. People don't want to be associated with the trash I'm doing.
Yeah, is one way of saying it, I guess.
Yeah,
Is what's,
yeah. So, but I'm not holding back. I think it's important to have these things out in the opens, and I think that people want it. People really want to be a part of things like that, and it's not actually as nefarious as the larger community would have us believe. It's actually pretty normal, and so because of that, I've struggled with venues. We just lost our home base a few months back, so trying to find small venues for our smaller shows, and then larger venues for our larger shows would have a whole other category of complicated when we're doing immersive theater. And then finding funding for those things. It's all fan based. All of our funding is fan based. We're not going to get grants from the government. It's just not going to happen. We're too weird.
Yeah.
We're too icky for them. So all of our funding is because people care about what we're doing. People care about what we're giving to the community, and they want to be a part of it themselves. So
Yeah.
they give their donations that way, and it is definitely something I'm reliant on and very grateful for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, I think there are more people. It's just finding them, right? It's finding where is everyone that wants to be involved.
It has to happen in the background a little bit, behind the scenes a little bit, because we do have a pretty big following. We have a lot of people that really care about it. But talking about it publicly for larger organizations that don't want to be associated with it, for businesses that don't want to be associated with it, that's a whole thing, which I think is strange, because I'm talking to a bar about having an event, and they're like, I don't know, and I'm like, you're going to have like 60 people in this space and they're all going to be buying 2 to 3 drinks apiece. Like,
Yeah.
do you not want money? Like, you're
Right.
going to have so much money at the end of this night. And they're going to tip well, probably. So, but it's not enough. Like, they're so scared of damaging their audience that they already have. But they don't realize that the audience they have is pretty much the same audience that I have.
Yeah.
It's just a different activity, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we're still finding spaces though all the time, and I have a lot of help from the community and from friends that have
Now-
businesses themselves.
Now, something like the Bonton Hotel, how many nights did you run it?
We ran that for 2 nights in a row.
Yeah. What about running it more? You think that'd be
So,
too draining?
I would love to do that. The problem is that the Dayton area is a smaller city, and it is very easy to oversaturate the market with a reoccurring event.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful about how often things are done. And I also do a lot of crowdsourcing for like finding out what people want
Yeah.
and what they think about things that have already happened. And people overwhelmingly, I think, because it's, at the end of the day, it's going to be the same few hundred people that are interested in it or that know about it. And, if I lived in a larger city, you could definitely do something monthly. Absolutely
Yeah.
do something monthly, and that would be really cool. But in Dayton, you could do something monthly for like 6 months. And then they'd be like, all right, I've had my fill of it. I know everything now. I'm kind of bored with it now. But if you're in a larger city, then you're talking tourism and
Yeah,
a larger
sure.
population. So in Dayton, I have to keep things fresh all the time.
Sure,
I am
sure.
constantly writing new stuff, come up with new ideas. Like, it's actually a lot of work. Constantly be coming up with new things. But
I agree you're right, with current fan base. But as far as getting more people in, that's a different start or a different
Yeah.
argument. So I got a buddy, and he owns Great Escape,
Okay.
and it's escape rooms. Mm-hmm. And everyone always told him, like, oh, that's a great idea, but it's it's a fad. It's going to stop. Like, it is what it is. Well, he's got 6 rooms. They're all different themed and whatnot. And he's about to have his 10-year anniversary, and he's doing more now than he did when he first started. Now,
more rooms or more business?
more business.
Oh, nice.
Now, explain that. Think about that. These are the same rooms. And the
Yeah.
whole answer is it's getting the word out, letting people know you're there is a massive thing.
Yeah.
And after 10 years, people know you're there. So it becomes a suggestion. So if you do it, 6 months maybe not the right number, but maybe it's 3 months. I think that it's more about that's how you would expand quickly on your audience. Because
Yeah.
if you could get, his whole idea is like, even if I get everyone in Dayton to go just once, he goes, I'll be done. I'll be successful. And that's like, in my opinion, that should be like the same type of mindset. If I get everyone to go once to one of my shows,
Yeah.
you would make
We're working on it.
plenty of
Yeah.
money. You know what I'm saying? And you couldn't be able to service all those people in Dayton in 2 nights, right?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do now is build on smaller events
Yeah.
so that I can do the larger events.
Yeah.
And maybe someday I can get a brick and mortar and have a whole ass immersive experience. It's there all the time for
Yeah.
a little while, at least for a little while. But
Yeah,
for
and then you
now
can
we're-
change
we're-
and then change it up
yeah.
every once in a while.
I use the smaller events to kind of exist in the community where people can see it and find it, whether on
Yes.
purpose or on accident, and they can kind of see what we're about. And it's usually, people who love stories, people who love history, and people who love reading about smut. Like, they just,
Yeah.
like, this is like a dirty little taboo thing that I enjoy because it's exciting and different. And so they start showing up, and that's kind of what I've been working on the last few years, is the smaller stuff to try and create the following.
I just think
larger
that
following.
even Bonton Hotel, I think you could, I honestly, genuinely believe you could run that for at least 3 months and you would
Yeah.
like grow substantially because, I mean, people haven't seen it. And then even like, I was like, wow, that was awesome. Like I've told my friends and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Where can I go?
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, you got that buzz. And then if you wait too much time,
Yeah.
then it's like, wait, you know.
And they forget about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because we live in this world of instant gratification. Now, phone,
Yeah.
phone, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I just think, I think it could be something there. I don't know. I know you got this new project coming up with the Heavenly Bodies, which we're going to talk about here in a sec. I don't know how long that's going to be running, but is that just like a couple of shows or?
So immersive theater is very expensive to put
Yeah.
on, so we are starting with a 2-night event.
Yes.
If it works out and I get enough money, sure, I'll do it again. But
Sure.
like I said, it's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
So I do what I can afford and what I can mentally handle
Right,
in the moment. So it'll be a 2-night event this October, and I'm very excited about it. It's going to be really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we talk about that, let's talk about the Smut Salon.
So the Smut Salon is our next upcoming event. It is on June 26th. Unfortunately, we've already sold out. We sold out in like 4 days. It was super fast, like a way faster reaction than I expected actually, because I wasn't sure how people would feel about it. A salon is basically, it's not where you go get your hair done. It's where you go to listen to peers share their artwork or their writing. So at the Smut Salon, that is what we will be doing. We will be providing a space for local writers to share their smut that they've written. In addition to that, we'll be reading some published stuff and sharing some history tidbits like what I read today. And it's just going to be like a very relaxed, fun time for people to kind of discuss the art that they're hearing and learning about and, share their opinions or just, get to know each other better.
Yeah.
So it'll be very, very communal type of event where people can be relaxed and socialize and kind of, learn something.
Yeah. So where, I know it's sold out, but where, like, what venue, I guess, where would you be having this at?
Our first Smut Salon, the one that we're having on June 26th, will be at the Secret Chamber in Fairborn. I do not know where the subsequent Smut Salons will be because, as I said before, I had no idea what kind of reaction it would have.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if it would be too niche, but it looks like we have a very excited group of people who are interested in it. So I'll be continuing to look for a nice venue to host future salons, and if I can get that, then I will probably have one happen at least monthly.
Yeah.
Or bi-monthly, maybe every other month.
All right. That'd be cool. That sounds really exciting.
So
Now let's talk about the big project that you're dealing with that we've talked a little bit about.
Yeah, so the big project is called Heavenly Bodies. It is an immersive experience. It's a horror comedy, and we will be doing scenes that I have taken straight from Penthouse letters. So it is gonna be trashy. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's also gonna be really scary and really sexy. That's going to be out in the middle of the nowhere in a haunted mansion in the woods. It's like a beautiful space. I've got everything all set up, and the only thing holding me back now is funding. So I have my Kickstarter set up, which can be found at dirtywords.online, which is our website. And if you would like to support us, you can support us by doing it through Kickstarter to make sure that this play actually happens.
Yeah. So where is it? Did you say where it was going to be at? I can't remember.
It's, well, I don't want to say since we
okay.
haven't been funded yet.
Oh, okay,
But it is
okay,
going to
fair
be
enough.
out in the middle of nowhere in a haunted house.
Now, is this an actual haunted house?
I assume it is. I don't know.
We
It's
might get some
in-
extra interaction.
Yeah, it's in the wonderful village of Yellow Springs, which everybody knows that's like one of the most magical places in Ohio. So I can assume it's haunted. I don't know how it couldn't be. The house is
Right.
a couple hundred years old now, but it's beautiful inside, and it will be very, very suiting for a Halloween event, which this will be.
Yeah. So what are the dates for this one again?
I have not announced the official dates
okay,
yet.
Okay.
And I
So
will,
sometime in October.
yeah, I will announce those dates once we reach our funding goal. Until then, it is going to be a surprise.
All right. All right. So how, I guess I should say, currently, how far away are we from the reaching the funding goal? Are we getting close? Are we far? Where are we at?
The last time I checked, I was at a little over 40%.
Okay.
And in about a week, I think 6 days now, we'll be at the halfway mark through our campaign. So I'm
Okay.
hoping to get to 50% by the end of this week,
Okay.
or next week, actually. So we're on a good trajectory so far. If I can get to that point, I will be ecstatic because it's a very good sign. I love seeing people come through and support in any way they can. The Kickstarter has multiple rewards. One of them is guest passes, which is literally just you buying early tickets. I
Yeah.
mean, you're really not even donating at that point. You're just buying your ticket.
Right. So
Into
people
the
can buy
event.
tickets now then.
You can through Kickstarter,
Yeah.
Kickstarter only. But there's one reward where you can name a character, and I think that's cool. A couple people have already named some of the characters. That's so much fun to me because it really makes it really like brings people into the story even more because like they're now part of creating it, you know.
Yeah.
Which every time you donate, you are part of creating it. Like I have, we have so much that we have to manage. I have to pay for a venue. I have to get costumes for the wardrobe. I have to get sound and lighting equipment, props, pay my actors, pay my bartender, everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to cover, and that's why I need help because I can't do it by myself. But this one's going to be really cool. I'm very excited about it. There's a lot. It's just a lot I can't say that I really want to.
Yeah. No, I understand. It's exciting. It sounds like it's going to be a blast. If it's anything close to what you did last time, it's going to be good.
And if you like ghosts, this is where it's going to be. It's going to be all kinds of ghosts.
Yeah. No, I kind of got that vibe. It was like, you kind of get a little bit of both where it's like haunted stuff and then, sexual. And it's kind of interesting because if you really think about it, like I remember, I don't know, just watching like, Jason movies. Mm-hmm. They always had like some pretty intense sex scenes sometimes,
Yeah, there's always that scene.
Right. And it's like, why is it both sex and scary or haunted house stuff? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they just merge, I guess. I don't know what the best way to explain it.
The slutty girl always dies. And
Right.
well, this one's going to be just sex scenes, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go.
Pretty much just sex scenes, yeah. It'll be pretty ridiculous. It'll be good, though.
Well, with that being said, I know you said some of the stuff already, but how does, people get a hold of you? How do people support you? I know that you talked a little bit about the Kickstarter, but why don't we just reiterate everything? What's we talked about the Kickstarter. I don't know if you have a website. I don't know if there's like...
The website, so the website is, it's just dirtywords.online. It's where you can buy merch. It's where you can find out more about Heavenly Bodies, more about the Smut Salon. There's a button on there where you can submit your stories if you have some. You can find the Kickstarter link there, and you can just learn more about what we do and where we come from and what we're all about as well.
Okay, cool. Well, what at the end here, we always like to use, I always say, like words of wisdom, always leave on a positive note of some sort. Mm-hmm. So any words of wisdom that's gotten you to where you are now and you want to pass along?
Yeah, I guess with Dirty Words, it is all about being exactly who you are because you can't be anybody else no matter how hard you try. So if what you want to do is dress up like a baby and get spanked, like maybe that's okay. You're not hurting anybody. Just be who you gotta be, and you'll be happiest that way. People who are themselves are happier, and most importantly, they are way more productive. And that's kind of what we need as a human society. So
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to see people be happy and productive as much as they can be.
absolutely.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on. I hope you had fun. I hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I'm excited for your new show coming up here in October. Heavenly Bodies. So I'll definitely be finding a way to get my tickets.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, well, until next time, enjoy. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Follow to our Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to sign up for our email list and receive an email to watch the show. Wednesday at 8 a.m. Do you know a great Dayton business that you would like to see on the show? Visit our website at DaytonApproved.com and click on the Contact tab and tell us who you'd like to see.